I love Aztec basketball. I love it. It would take something really fucking magical for us to win a national championship. Really, really magical. And that's nothing to downgrade us as a team. Look at Gonzaga. They've never won it. They've gotten to the final. But it takes something special to get to where we're at. The Padres have a real opportunity to win a World Series. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I were to choose a World Series title or a national championship, you'd have to pick me on a certain day to pick between those two. You know what I mean? The national championship would be absolutely incredible. You know what I mean? Absolutely incredible. But for baseball, my background and stuff like that, and coming from that and my city and stuff, I think World Series would probably be the one thing I want. And then we have a real opportunity to do it. Now you have to get through a lot of good teams too, but I just can't wait for the Padres season, man. There's just something about baseball.
No, why not? Let's do it all. If Gonzaga can get to the national championship, why can't San Diego State? There's no excuse.
I mean, can I answer that question?
No, because you don't know if you're a Cubs or a Sox fan.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh man. I'm an Aztec. I still think we should have won.
Hoping to get back to their usual home cooking here, where they are one of the best teams in the nation on their home floor. Steal, Lamont Butler out of the open court, finishes the two-hand flush to get the scoring start. Parrish off the curl, picks up his dribble. Senko has to hurry, launches a three. He's got it! Carmelo on the curl, locates Johnson on the alley-oop. Again, he's having his way to the low post tonight.
That you're looking at for Boise State. Who's going to be the leader on the floor for them right now? Who's going to guard Adam Seiko?
Inbounds perfection. Slings one to Mensah at the left block. And Mensah is unstoppable right now. Into double figures, and the lead is 16. The Broncos struggling to find any offensive rhythm. They are pouring it on. Long pass, Mensah, that's the way to finish off a terrific first half for San Diego State.
All right, Aztecs fans, welcome back to another episode of the Sons of Montezuma Kiss the Rings podcast. I'm your host, Mateo. You can find me at Mateo San Diego. And of course, I'm joined with my two co-hosts. He used to roll deep into the show, but ever since he got his master's, he thinks he's too good.
My master now?
You cannot stop him. You can only hope to contain him. It is the one and only SD Sports Fiend. What's going on, Fiend?
What's up, man? Had a good Friday night. Set off my weekend. Really nice.
We all had a good weekend, man. Everybody in the Viejas Arena was like on fire. As soon as they got in the building, it took everybody like almost a half of the first half to get in the building, but we'll get into that. I know who wasn't having a good week leading up to the weekend, and that was our one and only sandwich aficionado and basketball aficionado, coming all the way from East Tahoe. Mike Tortola. How are you doing? Did that win against Boise just completely get you back on cloud nine?
Not really.
No. That was a dominating victory, man.
Yeah, but they didn't have their best player. It's still a win. So, I know we'll talk about it, but yeah, I mean, it was a tough loss to Nevada, but they just played better and they just beat us. I guess you win 1 out of 10 and the fans up here are just talking shit. And it's like, okay, if you're going to beat us 1 out of 10, congratulations. Really happy for you.
Yeah, I didn't envy you, man. I know we were poking fun at you all week after the game because, like, dude, to be in that environment, that had to be extra salty after.
No, nobody was really salty. I mean, because my philosophy is if you go to a road game, you're in their house. You can root but be polite, right? And that's kind of what I expect when people come to Viejas. But for me, I just know that they hadn't beat us in 9. We had 9 in a row, and so they just beat us. And they, there was guys they were really excited to beat us, and this couple behind us was like, hey, very polite. And I said, congratulations. You guys don't really beat us that often. They're like, yeah, we know. We're really excited. I said, you can't win every single game. So, but, I think it was tough to beat 7 on 5.
Did they storm the court after you said that to them?
No. These were older people. We had our seats up a little bit higher. We weren't like my seats down in Diego, but they were a little older, but they're polite. She's like, I'm sorry for rooting. I said, you're fine. You're not, it's all good with me. root for your team. But yeah, it's whatever, dude. You know what I mean? If they, it's more of my friends up here who are just talking shit. It's like, bro.
It seemed on the broadcast it was pretty loud in there.
It was loud, but it wasn't packed. I mean, the upper concourse wasn't completely full. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were cow roping or donkey hunting. I don't know what they're doing up here. But
donkey hunting. Is that a thing up there? Donkey hunting?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Who knows? Still learning the culture up here. Really?
I like the videos you posted. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to some of the listeners that you got a chance to meet out there. I thought that was really special, and people making those road trips. Or if I don't know if he was from up there.
He was from it was interesting because we were at halftime with my buddy, and he had a Kawhi Leonard jersey on. And when people look at you, like they're like, I know he knows me, but I don't know who this is. I didn't know who it was, obviously, because I never met him. But he came up, he's like, hey, are you from some Sons of Money? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, dude. And so he seemed like a nice guy. He had come over from, I believe, Sacramento. I think in the Sacramento area, he came over. He was skiing at a couple places, and then he went to the game. So he was a really nice guy, and it was cool to meet someone who listens to the podcast.
San Diego and the other guys.
Hey, top 100 YouTube subscriber for Sons of Montezuma.
I love it, boy.
What's your
Old school Monty.
Go Aztecs.
K5 team, Son of Montezuma. What's up, dog?
K5 team.
Yeah, so my buddy Cody, who was on the other thing, he's like, oh, so people do listen to your thing, dude. And I'm like, yeah, bro. He was just like in awe. I'm like, hey, man, whatever, dude. So
only a few people listen. But okay, so before we go any further, let's give a shout out to those people who do listen. Like you said, it was cool to meet some of them up there in Reno. But a big thank you to everybody for listening. It's our 99th episode, guys. I know you guys were saying we're almost at a year of the Kiss the Rings show kicking off last March Madness. So 99th episode. It's been a pleasure to do it. It's a lot of hard work. We put a lot into these episodes and we have a lot of fun. But, a big thank you to everybody for listening. Make sure that you are liking and subscribing on YouTube. If you are listening to the audio only version, make sure you give us you don't have to give us a great rating on Apple. I accept, some trash talk and some constructive criticism. And this week, our item of the week in the Sons of Monty shop is, of course, Nathan Mensah's official t-shirt, which dropped. And man, he had a heck of a game against Boise. Mike was not impressed because Boise was down a man, but much props to Nathan Mensah. He busted out. It was the Nathan Mensah game. So yeah, we'll get into all that and more, but a big thank you to everybody for checking us out. 99 episodes strong, 100th on the way this week, so you want to stay tuned. It's been kind of a weird year for all the Mountain West. I know you're joking, but there is a little bit of seriousness to the whole, okay, well, we beat Boise by 20 points, 72-52, but it's kind of like, okay, all right, well, they were missing Shaver, right? Their point guard. So they had was he a freshman point guard that they had in there that we were just bombarding from the second, possession when Lamont stole the ball and dunked it? Yeah.
Yeah, he was a freshman. He hadn't. I mean, Shaver's their guy. He's the guy, and then Degenhart plays off him. So, I'm glad every W is a great, win. But like that one was kind of like, okay, you should have beat them without their best player. I didn't really expect them to beat them by 20, but they're not that deep. So it'll be interesting to see, those two teams in the tournament, but they're not that deep. So
I want this episode to kind of revolve around the theme. Was this 20-point smackdown of Boise, was this like a glimpse of all the greatness, all the hype that we had at the beginning of the year, that we wanted to see great ball movement, and Nathan Mensah showed up big time on both ends of the court. Lamont was clearly possessing the ball, distributing the ball. I mean, there were so many great things going on. Was this a glimpse of that greatness, or I like to phrase it, is this kind of fool's gold? What do you think, Fiend?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's not a worthless win. I mean, that's a quad 1, quad 2 win that's going to really help the resume for Selection Sunday. So, and we really, really needed that win at home because we've got to go to Utah State, Boise State, and New Mexico, and I don't think we're going to be favored in any of those games. And so, if you throw in 2 home losses with that and those road losses, your resume is getting really thin at that point. You're getting towards the cut line. So I think it was a huge, huge win in that perspective, even though they didn't have their best player. And yes, Shaver is kind of the straw that stirs the drink, right? Jace Whiting, their freshman, I think he had like 0 points, 2 assists, 4 turnovers. I mean, that guy had no business being on the floor. And once Shaver's healthy, then we'll see what they can do in the tournament. So I wouldn't get too impressed. I wouldn't get too excited about this win as far as like a 20-point win. There were some really good things that we did. Our bigs really dominated their bigs.
Right.
And so that was exciting to see. Obviously, you talked about sort of, Nathan Mensah sort of coming out and having like a resurgence back to like the dominance that he showed last year. That was really huge.
I love the quote. Schaefer tweeted it out about Nathan Mensah. He says, "For me personally, I felt like the previous games, I would say I let the team down defensively because I felt like anytime I played good, the opposing team could sense my presence throughout the game. And I noticed the past couple of games, none of the guys I was guarding was having that threat of like Nathan is in the game." I think that hit it on the head. He Nathan realizes his presence out there has got to be a force. And that was definitely the case. Our bigs dominated, but last year we scored 37 points against Boise in a game last year. I mean, the biggest difference is this is not the same Boise team that they had last year. They lost a lot of their star players, but they returned Dagenhart, like you said, and Shavers. But I mean, I don't know. This game, they're supposed to be the number 1 team tied with us at the top. Not having one of your star players, I get it. You shouldn't lose by 20 that bad. I mean, if we lost, one of our star players, I don't think we would get boat raced by 20.
I guess the road teams in the Mountain West are just playing terrible, right? Including us. We're not playing well on the road, nor is any road team. So you really can't judge the team based on how they're playing on the road, right? I think they're not as good as you think they are when they're playing at home, and they're not as bad as they are when they're playing on the road. They're somewhere in the middle.
Well, one, I think Boise State's better than they were last year. I think we're better than we were last year. But they're not deep. Not a lot of teams are deep.
You think they're better than last
I think they're better than they were last year. Yeah. So,
wow.
But and like Fiend says, I'm never going to discount a win. A win is a win. But when you have your guy who's out, that is your, you got him and Degenhart, and then it kind of, if you have 5 starters, kind of like Nevada has 5 starters basically, and then they don't really have a deep bench where we have 10 guys.
I'm sorry, Mike. I disagree with you, man. I do not think that Boise State is as good this year as they were last year. And the biggest piece that they're missing from last year is their big guy, Armush. Mladen Armush, that guy, the senior center, he was a difference maker last year in the middle. They don't have anyone that, is a really great interior defensive presence. And I think that's why we dominated them in this game. Yes, they were missing Shaver. I think their offense would have been a little better, but defensively, I'm not so sure that they would have been able to contain us, especially inside, because they just do not have the interior defenders that they had last year.
This year, we're a different team. Like Mike says, we're so deep. We got guys you could bring off the bench that we just didn't have last year. And I know that was all part of Dutcher's scheme in this game, was just that, quarter court pressure, full court pressure. He was just constantly throwing guys at their freshmen bringing the ball up, and it just caused all kind of chaos. So we won't belabor that point because it's all subjective. But I mean, they did win everything last year, Boise. I don't see that happening this year. Tell us this though, guys, because there's been, as good of a win, as great of a win as it was so fun and exciting. Everybody was dancing. Everybody was getting into it. I don't want to get too much into Matt Bradley because he knows. I saw him, kind of tweet back there on Twitter, hey, we're going to ball and then let the numbers be what they are. I saw that. And, I tend to agree with that a little bit as well. I mean, it's you can't completely get hung up on numbers. It's a team game and we have so many guys out there, and the flow of the game is what it is. If it's not your night to score, but it's been a challenge these last few games, right? Especially, there's been a lot of talk about Darian Trammell. Now, I liked his game this past night against Boise. I thought he distributed the ball very well. I know, Fiend, you made that a point as well. And just within the flow of the offense, he didn't take too many shots. I'm okay with him not being the sole focal point of the offense and spreading the ball around to everybody to get involved, especially Nathan Mensah getting involved. I think that's very crucial. So I'm okay with it. Of course, you want better shot selection and you want those numbers to be higher, but what are your guys' thoughts upon Trammell? I know people are kind of giving him a rough time right now. I don't think it's necessarily fair, but I think the Boise game was a good example of, okay, he can do other things and still be effective, without scoring.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I really like his passing, his distributing. I don't think we recruited him to be a scorer. If you look at his 3-point shooting over his career, I think he only shoots like 34%. I mean, that's an average 3-point shooter. And so that's not something that he is exceptional at. What he's exceptional at is distributing the ball, limiting turnovers, and getting steals on defense, and then closing out games at the end of the game. He's the type of guy that we really missed last year in the Creighton game. And so I'm totally okay with him just taking like maybe 5 shots, 6 shots. If the shot's there, then take it, but don't force it and look to get your other teammates involved first. And I think also part of it is we're doing too much just pick and roll, 1-on-1, or 2-on-2, excuse me, like, where Nathan or another big will set a pick and then no one else is really involved. It's those two guys. So the center, the big guy, rolls to the hoop, and then Trammell comes off of that. And then, he may, if he drives and they help off of the perimeter players, kick it out. But a lot of times they're not going to help off someone like Seiko. So if you can add in a wrinkle to these pick and rolls, you add in a third person stagger screens, Spain pick and roll, something to get more people involved, then he's going to have more opportunity to distribute and not have to feel like he's got to take that shot.
Mike, I know you were making a point about Bradley and how you wanted him to be kind of that facilitator, kind of like that LeBron type of guy where you just go out there, don't worry about the points, but just get everybody involved, be the playmaker. The points weren't necessarily there for him in this game, but unless I'm reading it wrong, that tweet wrong, and his response to it wrong, I feel like I'm interpreting what he's saying.
How are you interpreting it?
What was the tweet?
I don't know.
What was the tweet again?
The tweet is Bradley and Trammell over the last 5 games have averaged a combined 18 points per game on 40.1% efficiency, field goal efficiency. That's really poor efficiency. 90 points on 96 shots.
That's
the
terrible.
team will need more consistency from those two if they want to play their best. Everything he just said is true. I get it. I'm just not sure that Bradley is like getting it. I think Bradley's focusing on the points and probably saying
the
like
problem.
Well, right.
That's the problem.
I understand that, but it's like I don't think Bradley's like looking at them like as if they're or anybody, any of us. I don't think he's looking at any of us.
And that's the problem.
No, but they shouldn't be paying attention to any of us.
They shouldn't be paying attention to efficiency stats?
No, they shouldn't be paying attention to Aztec Breakdown or Sons of Montezuma. They shouldn't be looking at anybody on Twitter, to be honest with you. If you're a player, you should be paying attention to the coaches and what they're telling you, not anybody on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. So when he sees that, I think he's probably just kind of peripherally reading it and saying like, well, we're not about our stats. We'll play the game and we're not worrying about our stats. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand what Breakdown is saying. They're saying the right thing. I just don't think Bradley is seeing it in that way. Because why would you say like, why would you tweet, I'm not trying to get more efficient.
I think,
I'm not trying to get better.
What will be, we'll see. We'll see if there's any change. We'll see if the efficiency gets better.
Right.
Now,
that's just my perspective. I'm not saying that they're not trying to learn. I'm saying he's interpreting that tweet as though, look, they need to make more shots.
Here's the way I look at it too. Like I don't fault the players. The coaching staff has the power. They have the power to say, you're not producing the way that I want you to produce, so you can take a seat now. I mean, it gets back to what Coach John Mosley was saying. You have one choice. You have my choice.
Yep.
That's the only choice you have. I have 15 other choices. You only have one choice, and that's but my choice.
Nobody knows what's going on.
If Dutcher's just like, dude, let it fly. But that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
That's what
But
you're
see,
gonna
that's
get.
the
If you don't
thing.
move the
You
ball, if
don't
you
know.
don't move the
You
ball, if
don't
you're
know
not
it.
taking
I
good
don't know
shots,
it.
that's what you're gonna get.
But you don't know it. I don't know it. Aztec Breakdown doesn't know it. Nobody knows what
No
coach
one
is
knows,
saying
yeah.
behind closed doors. But
Right.
we know what we see. And that's the point, is that like Bradley can look at that and he could be like, you don't know what's going on in the locker room. Like, we're gonna ball and we're not gonna worry about your tweets. Basically, it's kind of like we'll worry about ourselves. That's essentially what I took from Bradley. Don't worry about us. We're gonna worry about ourselves. But like you said, I mean, it's up to coaches. But that's all I got from Bradley. I don't think he's saying, I'm not trying to improve. I don't think he's having a defiant attitude towards improving. I just think he's having kind of a defiant attitude towards people saying he needs to score more and you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like, no, we're going to ball. We're going to worry about ourselves and not worry about putting up points, individual points.
I heard it so many times on the broadcast from Coach Wenzel at the Nevada game, during the Nevada broadcast. They're not moving the ball right now. They're not playing team basketball. If you want to be a Final Four team, right, you have to understand the value of a possession. You only get so many of them. You only get so many possessions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not efficient with your possessions, then your team is not doing as well as it could.
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to get to a Final Four, you got to be more efficient. That's the bottom line. Hey, the stats don't lie. And I think that's all that Aztec Breakdown was trying to communicate.
That discipline. Yep.
Here's another thing. All right. A wise person told me this a long time ago. The truth shall set you free. But right before it does, it's going to piss you off.
Emotional.
Remember that.
It's always darkest before the light. It would be nice if he just didn't respond. You know what I mean? But I know.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sometimes they get to it, so they're reading it. Even if they don't, someone they know does, and they say something to them. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's at some point you're just kind of like,
you got it under their skin.
Yeah, enough to where he felt he needed to respond. But he's also, he's our leading scorer, despite the efficiency thing. Tramel's the second leading scorer. But if we have 3 or 4 guys who average 9+ 8 points a game, that's going to put us in a good position to where if a guy has an off night, we can do that. But I want to win one tournament game before, I know the expectations were super high this year. They're still 18-5, and they've lost to like 4 of the top, how many top high of what on Ken Palm, the top 40 or something like that. So, I think St. Mary's is probably a Sweet 16 team, to be honest, if not better. Arizona's a Sweet 16, if not better. Arkansas has some bad luck with injuries and things like that, but fuck Musselman. Like I've said, I've never worried about Bradley. He's going to get his, and he's going to be there when we need him, but he's had a bad night. I mean, nobody's perfect, and like I said, if he was a little sick and still getting over it, I mean, that's going to affect you a little bit. And maybe he kind of was like, all right, well, everybody else is kind of getting going, and so I like Bradley. He's one of my favorites from a long time. I it's still kind of crazy to me that we have 3 left-handed shooters on the squad. That's you know what I mean. But like the one constant that I have really enjoyed, and I felt like I said it before about KJ, but I don't remember if I said it to someone or off the text or something like that. But he's been the consistent guy the last 4 or 5 games. Playing well. I don't remember multiple games in a row where any other Aztec has had alley-oop dunks like he has. And he can kind of get it when he wants, and he's playing really well, man. Like he's just more aggressive. It looks like he's having a good time, and it'll be interesting to see how they finish out the season and how everybody kind of falls into place. Because I still think we have guys who are probably the main guy on their squad: Parrish, Tramel, Bradley. They come in, and it takes a little bit of time to figure out your role when you're working with other guys that are kind of had a similar role with you. So it'll be interesting to see how they finish the season, because we got a dogfight ahead of us in like 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, and shout out to those guards for getting those big guys the ball on those pick and rolls. I mean, they, and those dunks. I mean, high percentage shots, great passes. I mean, kudos to them. I mean, the bigs are making the highlight play, but the guards with their passes have just been unbelievable in those situations.
Yeah. Talk about the trend these last few weeks. I can't speak more highly about Lamont Butler, his ability to it feels like a switch has really gone off for him. He's getting it, the ball distribution, the possession of the ball, not turning it over, making sound, and in some cases, like some really impressive passes, whether it's to Mensah or to a rope or getting the ball to Adam Seiko. I was laughing because me and my boys were watching the game, and my buddy, he hardly goes to any of the games in person. He was like, man, if we just had that consistent 3-point shooter, it would open up the game. So I'm like, dude, Adam Seiko's hitting 50%. You just got to get him the ball. He takes a shot, nails it. Right after I said that, he nails the 3-pointer. He had missed the previous one. And that's when he was kind of like, oh, man, if we just had that consistency. I was like, dude, he's hitting 50%. It's awesome to see everybody's recognizing that. And you see it. It's intentional. They're getting him the ball as soon as they can. They're looking for him. Like, hey, how can I get him a shot off? So, man, talk about consistency. Kashad, Adam, Lamont. I mean, it's starting to kind of round into form a little bit. I don't think this game is I feel like this game, as good and as dominating as it was, we're still not playing to our highest potential. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, Lamont, I think especially is really looking for Seiko. He assisted on several of his threes, and especially the one that he took from like El Cajon. I mean, that deep three on the transition. Did you see the wall that Lamont gave him? I mean, throwing the ball back to him and just creating that wall so no defender could close out on him. Easy look. I mean, I know it was deep, but hey, you give him an uncontested, shot from pretty much anywhere inside 30 feet. I mean, he can nail it.
Yeah, I think he's actually shooting 58% in conference 3-point. I was listening to on the thing, and I think technically it'd be more like Point Loma, because if that would be more east to west. No, Elkhorn's more east, so he's shooting from the west.
You know what frustrates me though about this team is they have the potential to be a Final Four team.
I agree.
They do. If they would just put it together, if they took the excess shots and given those shots to Seiko, how many wins is that?
Probably 2 more, 3 more.
Probably 2. Okay, so what, we got 2 losses now?
Yeah.
Instead of 5?
Yep.
And now we're ranked like, top 10 in the country, top 15, and we're like a 3rd seed. I'm sorry, but that's how I see it. That's the recipe right there. You got a guy shooting 50%. Seiko is an amazing 3-point shooter, and now they're starting to get on the ball more, and he's shooting well. And maybe a couple more go to Parrish on catch and shoot shots. And the D's got to get better, which it seems like it, at least at home.
Bro, I'll tell you what though, if Mensah plays like that and Keyshawn plays next to Mensah with those two down low, or in that block down there, that's going to open up the rest of the offense.
Get our bigs the ball.
Yes.
Get it to the big men, or get it to Seiko for a 3.
Mensah drew 10 fouls last game. 10. That's you get that, and he does a 17 and 7 or whatever, man, and Keyshawn does his.
They also, they didn't have a big guy who can match up though, so that's kind of.
They don't.
You got to take it game by game. But I hear you. You got to attack. You got to get.
We did well when we attacked Nevada. I think in the first game. I don't think they're really without EK. I don't. Who else scares you as a big guy that you wouldn't want your bigs going in trying to score on them?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is Udezi, and that's it. And I don't even know if that would be.
Yeah. There's nobody in the conference. Nobody in the conference has. There's nobody.
No.
It would take something really fucking magical for us to win a national championship. Really magical. And that's nothing to downgrade us as a team. Look at Gonzaga. They've never won it. They've gotten to the final. But it takes something special to get to where we're at. I mean, dude, the one shot we had to win the national championship was the 2011-12 team when Kemba flopped. I still think we would have beat Arizona and gone deep, but we didn't get a shot. That's what I'm saying is like that you have to have everything fall into place, and it's one game. It's one game, where in baseball, it's best of 7, or best of 5. So you can have a fucked up game and you can still win. But in basketball, you have a bad series or a bad 3 or 4 minutes in a game and it's over. You know what I mean? So that's why, I think one game things is tough, especially football. That's why I always said Tom Brady was the best ever, because you have a bad game, you're out of the playoffs. And nothing to take away from, hockey or football or baseball, you have series instead of a game. But I mean, dude, I'm just, man, how hit Padres. You know how excited I am about that? Like the Padres have a real opportunity to win a World Series.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
I'm still like Tatis. He's still in the doghouse with me, man. He's got to prove it. He's got a lot to prove.
I think that's part of the reason they signed Nelson Cruz, because Nelson Cruz was on like the manager of one of the teams he was on in Winter Ball or something like that. And Nelson Cruz is like revered in, his home, state or country and stuff. And so I think that was part of the game plan. Is I don't think anybody wants to let Nelson Cruz down, is kind of what I gathered, especially Tatis. He looked up to him as a kid. I love Aztec basketball. I love it. If I were to choose a World Series title or a national championship, you'd have to pick me on a certain day to pick between those two. I mean, the national championship would be absolutely incredible. You know what I mean? Absolutely incredible. But for baseball, my background and stuff like that, and coming from that in my city and stuff, I think World Series would probably be the one thing I want. And then we have a real opportunity to do it. Now you have to get through a lot of good teams too, but I just can't wait for the Padres season, man. There's just something about baseball. You know what I mean?
I get those questions because it's kind of interesting to think about it, but it's like, why? Like, we can have it all. Like, why limit yourself to just thinking about one pitch and, putting yourself in a box? So, we can only have one or the other. Like, no, why not? Let's do it all. If Gonzaga can get to the national championship, why can't San Diego State? There's no excuse.
I mean, can I answer that question?
No, because you don't know if you're a Cubs or a Sox fan.
Oh boy. Oh man, Andy. Yeah.
All right, so the Aztecs take down Boise. I love those Boise fans on Twitter that are getting all salty because our signs weren't good enough. BJ Rains, he was like, oh yeah, they had the potato tier sign. It's like, dude, have more than one good year before you start trying to clap back at us. Like 1 year for Boise and they think they've arrived. Anyways, let's talk about a team we got up next. Utah State this Wednesday night in Logan. We talked about it a little bit already, but man, they just came off of handling New Mexico pretty solidly. So they're a much different team at home. I realize that. How do you guys think this is going to play out? I mean, like I said, with Squeaks, they're going to be a little different. They're going to play different at home. They're going to have more confidence than what they did in Viejas. So I mean, we're sitting in first place. Utah State, Boise, and Nevada are all in second. It's going to be that way for the rest of the season. They're always, every time we play them, it's going to be for first place now. So any other thoughts to go with Utah State?
Yeah, I don't really like the timing of this matchup. This smells a lot like the Nevada game. Nevada was desperate, right? Their non-con schedule stunk. They needed a quality win, and they got one against us. So they were hungry. They were very motivated. Plus, we had beaten them how many times, Mike?
9 in a row.
9 in a row. So they were really juiced up. And I think Utah State coming off of, that loss at our place, and their non-con schedule really wasn't very good. They could really use a marquee victory. And this would do it for them if they beat us. I feel like they're kind of battling Nevada for that fourth bid for the Mountain West. It seems like right now, as of right now, Boise State, New Mexico, and San Diego State would be in the tournament. And a lot of bracketologists are saying it's a 4-bid league, and there's 5 teams that, could get those 4 spots. So I'm a little nervous about this game. I think they're going to be very hungry. I don't know if you guys heard about the stuff that went on at Colorado State yesterday with Max Shulga and all the insults that were hurled at him.
What was so bad about it?
Well, it was the Colorado State student section when Max Shulga, who is from Ukraine, was shooting free throws at the end of the game. They were chanting Russia at him, which is just really disgusting. And yes, they came out, they apologized. Colorado State apologized. It was kind of a weak apology. Nico Medved apologized. But I could just see the Utah State fans really kind of galvanizing around this. I just think the energy, it's going to be difficult for us to win at Utah State because they're desperate.
They're fired up.
They're fired up. You know, they want to support one of their guys who, you know, had some really nasty insults hurled at him. And, you know, it's also at elevation, which we do not play well on the road at elevation. We saw that at CSU. We saw that at Air Force. We saw that at Nevada, right? So we saw it at Wyoming. So I'm really concerned that what's going to happen is that we're not going to be able to move the ball as much, and it's going to stick because we're just too tired.
Utah State has lost to Boise, Nevada, and us. Those are the 3 losses. I think for us, we have to win this game personally, because we're going to lose one here or there in the next, you know, I mean, Utah State has got us, San Jose State, Air Force, Nevada, Wyoming, UNLV, and Boise State. So, you know, say we beat them, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 games left. But with us, I mean, we have to go to New Mexico. We still got to go to Boise. I think we need to figure out how to win this game. I think you got to win this road game, because if you do, you're 2 games up on Utah State because you sweep them. You're a game up on Boise. You split it with Nevada, and then you got another chance in New Mexico. So I think this is a must win for them, but this is also a pretty big game for us to win. I know they're all big games. I know it's kind of a weird comment to make, but any team at home in the Mountain West, if they come out early and get up big and their crowds behind them, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to come back and win that game.
Look, it just happened at Boise State.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really matters on, you know, what you're referring to as far as must win. I see it as not a must win for, you know, an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. Yeah, it could be a must win as far as trying to win the conference regular season championship.
You know, one of the things, it's interesting because we talked about, because I get to watch it at home. I'd rather be in Viejas, but when the Boise game, you know, Casey Jacobson is an interesting guy to listen to because he loves San Diego. His wife's from San Diego, and he loves San Diego State. But like, I think, you know, a few things he threw out was when KJ scores 10 plus points, we're 18-3, and so he's been the cog, like I said, the last 5-6 games that he's really played well. And then, you know, Mensah's like 23 of 30 from the line in conference play. He made a lot of free throws, man. I'm pretty happy about that because, you know, he was struggling a little bit last year, but he's been pretty consistent this year. The one thing that really pisses me off about that UNR game is they shot 65% in the second half. They had like 14 trips in a row at the end where they made a bucket, and you can't. That really bothered me, and I think that's when Mensah and Arope had the team meeting. It was like, guys, what are we doing here, man? Like, this isn't going to cut it, especially when the game's coming up. So,
well, it's good to have that senior leadership. Arope, Mensah, you know, pull themselves together, and you know, if they got to get a little loud from what it sounds like, and you know, just sit everybody down. Like, okay, we got to do it. We haven't even mentioned Jaden Ledee's performance. He's really been efficient. Extra efficient, you know. His offensive game seems like it's coming into more comfortability within the offense, and just, you know, picking and choosing the right type of shots, and you know, his handles and just the offensive flow with what we've been seeing him lately. It's so night and day, his comfortability out there. So
yeah, I totally agree. I think Ledee's defense is really improving too.
All right, guys, well, we'll get together again soon. Everybody enjoy the game on Wednesday, and yeah, on behalf of the guys, Mateo San Diego, SD Sports Fiend, Mike Tortolot, sonsofmontezuma.com. Go get that Nathan Mensah official shirt. We got some more styles between him and Lamont Butler, and hopefully one other player. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. So get them in time for March Madness. Get them in time. All right, guys, go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
But James Ray shouting out go too. And even driving down if he's not looking at shoes. A-Dub, Sling 2, catching all the deep ball. In the lane, jumping over people like a leapfrog.